So, it's been a few weeks since, my last video, 3 weeks or so, I think. I believe I left off after we had had a little spat and Kane left. Well, he ended up finally messaging me late the next night, like 10 o'clock. Said he was already in town, wanted to come over and talk. So, and I had a friend over, had to take him back home, so it was probably about 11 by the time he came in. I apologized. I knew I'd had a diva moment, although I can't 100% for sure say, I can't say that I think it was 100% my fault. Just, I guess I'll take blame for my reaction to disappointment, not being what it should have been or could have been. But I feel like his reaction was a bit extreme too, and I was just sick all that day. It did help me to spend some time with my friend that evening, so that I had somebody to talk to and I wasn't by myself. So I'm thankful that I had that. So I feel like, we talked through it some. It felt like we had resolved the little spat, but yet I felt like the underlying issue was still there. And he did say he was gonna put the brakes on moving in with me. And you know, looking back on it now, I may always think that it basically was just my fault. My neuroses taking over, making me behave and react foolishly. Although, I do wonder if issues would have come out eventually anyway. Because, well, Kane and I both have a little bit of a diva streak and are kind of used to getting our way. And I feel like right now his diva is winning out. And, I don't want either diva to win. I want actual compromise and equality. That's what I need. That's what I feel like he needs too. But we did both say we felt like we had there was too much good stuff going on between us to let one issue just ruin it all. So, we'll fast forward a week, a little over a week, I guess. And I'm still feeling an issue over the lack of intimacy. and it eats at me and it eats at me and it makes me doubt things, his feelings and his desire for me, and things just feel a bit different, and I'm thinking this relationship is going backwards, not forwards. And when, we went all weekend with just basically hanging out as friends, and he might hold my hand. So when we're watching TV, he'd kiss me goodbye, hug me. That was it. And so when he came up, like on a Tuesday night, I think it was, I just finally said, I feel like this is going backwards as to the forwards, and I'm wondering if we're beating a dead horse here. I had asked him about how the relationship with his son's mother had ended, and he said they had been together a couple of years, but they basically for a long time had been trying to make something work that just wasn't meant to be. And so I wondered if that's what was starting to go on with us. And I question my judgment all the time about saying things when I shouldn't, and maybe I did it again and bringing that up. But at the same time, one of the things that had made me so deliriously and unbelievably happy with our relationship thus far is that I've been able to, before the little spat, talk to him about anything and everything, it seemed. I told him things that would send most guys running away screaming, and the iffy stuff didn't seem to faze him. He seemed to understand everything that I told him about, so that level of communication is so important to me. So I felt like I needed to be able to talk to him about how I was feeling, and I guess hoped he would reassure me, but it turned into another argument. This time he didn't run away like I thought he would. I gave him credit for, even though he was upset, sticking around and at least talking about it. But I remained calm the entire time, at least outwardly. I certainly wasn't calm on the inside. He wouldn't sit down, had to stand up, was raising his voice. I cried a little when I asked him if he thought we should take a break. I took the blame for things. I kept questioning, were we beating a dead horse? He kept saying no. He said a couple of things, I guess, about bringing his son over, and that Kane spends his free time with me. He wouldn't keep coming up here if he didn't want to actually be with me. But then he also basically let me know that my neuroses were probably more than he could take, that he couldn't change who he was, that sometimes he just wasn't going to be in the mood as far as intimacy goes and all that. kept saying that I wanted sex all the time, and I tried to point out that, once a week is not all the time, and he's only 36. I mean, and he's physically in good shape, so, but anyway, he said he couldn't change who he was, but he told me that I needed to basically change who I was, at the very least change behaviors, which I do believe people can change their behaviors if they want to, even if they're not changing themselves. But it went a little deeper than that. He made it sound like, I needed to just get over things in my past and not let them affect current things. And I tried to explain to him that, I have all of this fear of getting hurt again, and I told him why, and I said, when I see things happening that have happened in a previous relationship that was very damaging to me, the one with the giant Brit, all I have to go on, since I can't see inside his head, is, okay, I've seen this pattern before, this was the result, I can't go through that again. I went through over 2 years of being a companion, a sort of significant other, but never being a girlfriend, with someone who straight up told me that he loved me as a friend, but that there wouldn't be anything beyond that. And yet, I spent so much time with him, saw him every weekend, talked to him every day, all of this stuff, but there was no, that fizzled out. Even the dating part of that had fizzled out after, within like 6-7 months. This, to me, was already fizzling 5 weeks in, I guess. Or no, I guess at this point it's been like 7 weeks, maybe. It seems so much longer. I am just flabbergasted by this, that it's only been that amount of time. But anyway, so we didn't get anything resolved that night. He left. It was probably 5:30 in the morning, saying he just needed to go home, smoke, play some video games. I let him go. I was calm on the inside, on the outside. He has a temper. I knew that he would need time to calm down, and I ended up going into work late that morning, and then I was just sick all day. I asked my mom to come over and spend time with me so I wouldn't be alone, because at this point I'd only had the kitten in for the stray kitten. I'd only had him in the house for a week or so, and I wanted to be here. I didn't want him to be alone, And so my mom came over, we watched some TV. It was a good distraction. Made it through work the next day, and then about 6 o'clock that evening, he texted me and said, I know we're not on the best of terms right now, but I need your help with the stray kitten that I found. and he had a sign, and I said, well, go ahead and bring it up, and we'll, see what's going on and all that. And he did, and this was the week that he had to sign extra time because he was getting ready to go back to school. And so we had him like Wednesday through Saturday. He brought him up at least for an hour or two every night. I cooked, gave him some piano lessons, and it was just, before they would leave, Kane would, hug me, kiss me goodbye. That was it, pretty much. I think he might have come up to me in the kitchen a time or two and, sweet, but that was it. And from that point, well, of course there was no time with his son around for us to have any kind of discussion about anything at all. So, at this point, there has never been a resolution. And I fluctuate in my level of turmoil. Some days I just feel sad and melancholy that that amazing experience that was going on, at least those first few weeks, that it's gone. It feels like there's no spark left. There's no romance at all. It's now been like 4 weeks since we've had sex, and yet we've only been together for 9. So he talked like I was being overly demanding and even wanting it once a week, but it's a month now. 4 weeks out of 9. I don't see how, and especially that early on in a relationship, I don't see how that he can't see that is indicative of some kind of issue, whatever the cause is. You can't ignore the symptom, and the symptom is pretty blatant, but yet we haven't talked about it. I cannot bring myself to bring it up. Part of me has been on a kind of wait and see mission to see if maybe he needed to build trust back up. Maybe he would start seeing me differently again. And there are days when it bothers me so much. I actually sat down the other night and wrote out a 3-page letter to basically say, we need to acknowledge that we're nothing more than close friends now, because there's absolutely nothing romantic going on. But I needed for the little what little slight romantic gestures there are left of him holding my hand sometimes and kissing me goodbye, that those are gonna stop, because I can't live in limbo. All of that, not only well, I can't say that what bit of kisses I get actually turns me on right in that moment, but it's still like a tease. It makes me want things that I can't have. It makes me want him to be intimate with me, and it also makes me want him to love me. And and because of what we have had, the companionship level that I just cannot deny, and because I'm so very attracted to him, and he's like, in many ways, he's my ideal. So it is very, very hard for me to let go of that, and I am so weak at this point, and I'm depressed again. At least I'm sliding down that path into the pit of depression, and I cannot. So I guess I'm exhibiting avoidance behavior. I cannot. I haven't given him the letter. Even though I wrote it, it actually made me feel a bit better after I wrote it, because I got some release. Got to actually say what I needed to say. I may rewrite it and give it to him at some point. Some days I have a little urge to just do something to at least create some emotion, because everything just feels so dead and lifeless right now. Like he came up last weekend like usual, but he didn't come up this week at all. And of course I purposely gave him enough weed when I saw him last that he wouldn't need to come see me to get it. I kind of wanted to see if he would come see me just because he wanted to. He did not. Some days, I miss him terribly, and other days I'll actually go for hours and then realize that I hadn't thought about him for hours, because I've detached to myself as much as I can, and that doesn't feel good either. To me, sometimes there's something more sad about when something just fades away slowly but surely, when the feeling just dies. Something about that to me sometimes is more sad than traumatic breakup with a big scene and tears, and at least that feels like it's real. So I'm just in I'm in a state of limbo at the moment, either waiting for something to happen that's going to be significant enough that it pushes one of us one way or the other into some kind of real action, or if it's just gonna die organically, and the thought of that is just killing me, which is why some days I have the urge to go ahead and do or say something to just open up the wound and cauterize it, and then have my heart broken and go into a hermit phase and again and be bitter and whatever, but the rest of me, it is so hard to picture a life with him without him. I can't bear the thought. And the thing is, I'm not like some, abused spouse who, I understand when you've had 10, 15, 20 years with this person, it's really hard to imagine a life without them, but yet they need to, because they need to get away from that. But see, I don't have that kind of impetus because he's not been abusive. It's not like I'm going through some horrible trauma. It's just the fact that when I'm with him, I'm constantly, not constantly, but a lot of the time, sad and frustrated and feel the distance growing. Is that enough reason for me to go ahead and say, okay, I need him out of my life. This is unhealthy for me. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the reason that I should, that it's unhealthy for me. But at the same time, when I think about losing everything, losing that companionship, I mean, my suggestion to him was that we remain close friends, and just, or at least in the letter that I haven't given to him, but that's my suggestion, was that we remain close friends. We can still spend time together so that the companionship aspect doesn't have to go away. But I needed to draw boundaries so that I could at least try to get myself in a mindset of we're just stoner buddies. And I feel like right now I could do that, at least temporarily. I don't know how long that I could keep it up, because, you know, this is basically what happened years ago. After we dated, we stopped dating, then he moved in here, and we were close friends. And that was fine for a little while, a few months probably, but then he started dating someone, and I was just sad and jealous because I still wanted to be with him, just like now. So I figured that's what will happen again. So that's about all I can stand to talk about this for right now. I mean, this, I guess, won't be the very last chapter, because as far as I know, I'll at least see him again sometime fairly soon, I would think, but who knows? Who knows? What a difference between this and episode 1, huh?